Back to the Sunday evening podcast again, guys. After the World Cup has been completed, it's back to us just chatting openly and freely about cricket and about things happening. Obviously, how we feel about cricket as well as other things in our lives. We don't know what will pop up on this particular episode, but we'll wait and see. You guys also have a chance to comment in the live chat as well. So it's nice that we can have a nice chat with you guys. So let's talk about it. Let's chat about it, and particularly about this particular topic. It's hectic, Aditya. I mean, we were both very hopeful for both of our teams. I was very hopeful for South Africa. You were very hopeful for India. We had to both wait on other teams and see how they perform before we could decide what our fate was. Unfortunately, both teams have to end this T20 World Cup early, but it makes us start to think if maybe the format needed to be a little bit different, or maybe the format needs to be changed in the future. On the flip side, though, you can also really say that it's the best of the best that get to have a chance to play each other in this T20 World Cups and going into the final round. But ultimately, if you look at it, there were three teams that only lost one game that were in Group A. So it's like crazy that you can only lose one game and still not make it into a final round or have an opportunity to make it into the final round. So it's one of those things that we really need to think about. But first and foremost, Aditya, I'd like to ask how you doing. I mean, we know about the Diwali festivities. How was that? And how did everything go at home? How's the family and everything?
Yeah, thanks, Khalid. It was a great week, and festive as always. Things have opened up in India a fair bit, so I was able to go out and spend time with the family and friends and so on. And Bollywood is back in a big way. So we've had a big ticket release on Friday that has taken theaters by storm, and it's been a fantastic movie. So me being the massive Bollywood fan that I am, I've had the time
Mhm.
of my life the last 2 days. Uh,
He's still trying to convert me to Bollywood. This guy. I feel it like when he comes down to Cape Town, he's probably gonna bring a stack of DVDs or something.
I'll take you to the theater straight away. I mean, I would right now too if I could.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we can basically both share each other's. Like, I have a love for film in general, and
Yeah.
you have a love for obviously Bollywood. So it's something that maybe we can swap around and maybe introduce each other. I mean, long
Yeah.
term friendship here, guys, that you're witnessing on this particular show. So let's get
Yeah.
into it.
PM's asking which movie. It's Surya Vanshi, bro. Surya Vanshi.
I see that.
Top
Yes.
movie. I've seen it twice in 3 days now, so
Don't even know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to even try and butcher it. If I can talk about a movie that maybe that really stood out to me recently that I've watched, um, it would. It's very difficult for me to pick one. Actually, I actually recently watched Cruella,
no,
and
yeah.
I was quite impressed with Emma Stone's performance in that particular movie. I thought it was excellent acting from her part. A very different side to her and a very different side to the character. If you ever watched 1001 or 101 Dalmatians or whatever it's called, and I mean, it's a very different take on how she became who she is, and I thought she was excellent because I didn't really think it was her. Like, she normally
Mm.
acts a certain way in her movies, but she was excellent in this particular film. Yeah, I still need to watch. Oh, I must say, when it comes to a movie that I really, really, really enjoyed, I'll have to put Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings into that category, a Marvel movie that recently came out. What a movie. I enjoyed it from start to finish, really. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I see someone said Eternals, and I really want to watch that, but it's just
Yeah.
released in the cinemas soon, I think. So, yeah, and I haven't had a chance yet to actually watch that. Bai's in the back end. We're going to bring him into the stream. He's asking us what movie. This We just said Shang Chi. I said Shang Chi. The Legend of the Ten Rings is a movie I watched recently that I really enjoyed. Anything from your part? I mean, you in Los Angeles, you should be like movie crazy. Disappeared. Okay, maybe he's still getting ready, guys.
Yeah.
He has food in his mouth. It's okay, guy. You can just chill. This is the Sunday podcast. Lay back, chill. Aditya once had curry and Ruti on the show. No, I'm joking. So, but don't be shy, audience. I'm sure they would like to see you out of,
All right.
out of character.
Okay.
Whatever.
So I haven't watched Suryavanshi, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. And then one quick correction, Khalid, LA is like 6.5 hours south. It's quite a long
I know,
drive.
yes.
Yeah. So
No, but when I
from
say
San Francisco. Yeah.
when I say LA, I'm talking about America. America is movie central. It's the country that brought us Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
So I know I'm generalizing because there's always half a billion people over there. So like it's difficult for me to generalize. But I'm just saying, but American culture is very much in all of us because I mean, movies, Hollywood, all of those type of things. And I know it's far from you, but I know that the culture in New York and Los Angeles and Hollywood and in so many other places, going to the film and the cinema, so it's massive there. So anything
Oh
you
yeah.
can, anything you can maybe suggest that we maybe don't get to watch because I mean we don't necessarily always get to see the movies that go to Sundance and all of those type of festivals. So we only have to get them when it comes to digital or whatever the case may be. So we never really get to know about some. There might be some things that you maybe know about.
It's been a while since I last went to the cinema, but I did go a few years back to watch the Hamilton musical. So for those of you that haven't watched it, I'd personally recommend it. It's a must watch. Pretty much all the tracks, all the songs are pretty good. So uh, yeah, it's my recommendation. You'll definitely enjoy it.
Okay, awesome. So, guys, let's get straight into the discussion today. Smash the like button, please. This is a Sunday podcast, so this is where we just lay back and have a conversation casually about things, whatever pops up into our head. But we try to get to a main cricket topic as well. Normally, we do get into hectic debates over here. So, I have to start by saying, first and foremost, before the BCCI contact Aditya and he's on the red list. Let's just say disclaimer. So on the show, these views are those of the panelists and not the views of Cricket Fanatics Magazine. So if they contact Aditya on his personal account, no worries. I just don't want to see any DMs on Cricket Fanatics account. So let's get straight into it. Do you want to start with India? Because yesterday we spoke quite a lot about South Africa, obviously, in our review. And I would actually like to get your thoughts on India because Aditya, I sat here and I really thought that India would be one of the favorites in the tournament. I just thought that the team, from start to finish, there was just a nice blend of everybody. And I really thought that you guys would be favorites and probably win all of your games, especially when the only thing I was a little bit obviously always going to be worried about you guys playing one of the other top sides. Pakistan, India is an unknown one. We never know what Pakistan is going to bring to the table. But with the momentum they were taking into this World Cup, we knew that they would be dangerous, especially on wickets that they are so familiar playing on. So, do you feel that that's where you lost the World Cup in that particular game? Do you feel that where the momentum was just, or the belief was taken out of the India side, or where do you think you lost your belief as a team?
Okay. So at the outset, I'm gonna say that there's no excuse for India's performance at the World Cup, and anything I say is more of an analysis of what happened as opposed to excuses to justify the performance. India simply weren't good enough. I think that's the bottom line. But where did India go wrong, or structurally, what led to India's performance in this World Cup? So I think there are a couple of things. One is that if you look at the last couple of years, uh, there's been a tremendous overlap in the players that are first choice in the T20 side, ODI side, and in the Test side. And if you look at seven players in the current 11 of the Indian T20 team. That's Rohit Sharma, K. Rahul, Virat Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, Jadeja, Ashwin, and well, so yeah. So that's 7 players. These 7 players are also first choice players in the Test squad. Okay, India plays 15 Test matches a year, so it's quite obvious that when these guys are going to be rested, it's going to be during the T20I series. So if you look at the number of times that India has played T20Is with their full strength squad, it's been very rare. And it's cost them in this tournament because they simply haven't played enough together. Statistically, Virat Kohli has played more alongside AB de Villiers than he has alongside Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma has played more alongside Kyron Pollard than he has Virat Kohli. So I think that tells you a certain story, and I think part of the reason is that um, scheduling is a problem in Indian cricket, and I think in Indian cricket it's very difficult when you have certain star players like Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma and Bumrah who are good enough to be 3 format players. It becomes very difficult to sort of manage the workloads across the 3 formats. So I think that's definitely a major issue, and I hope that it gets resolved over a period of time. Um, I think another reason, again, this is not an excuse at all, um, but I think we can all agree to a certain degree that the toss has disproportionately influenced the outcome of games. When a certain game, particularly the night ones, if the team batting first and the team batting second experience vastly different conditions, then I think there needs to be a relook there. Because it's happened in far too many ICC tournaments in the subcontinent where the side batting second has had a significant advantage over the side batting first. Again, not an excuse, but it is an observation. Um, and I think generally uh, the team just looked jaded. They've been on the go since May. I think over the last year and a half, the Indian teams probably spent the most time in bio bubbles of some of the other teams as well. And I think somewhere it catches up with you. Um, but I think overall, like from a macro perspective, these are the issues. And then, of course, we can get into selection and things like that. I don't agree with having Hardik Pandya who doesn't bowl as part of the team. It doesn't make sense because then you're limited to 5 bowling options. But I think that's a separate issue.
Yeah, so we're adding forward to the mix here as well. Welcome to the show. We were talking about movies earlier on, but I don't know if you want to get involved with the movie talk. But we've already
I'm
went
not a
into
movie person. I
you
don't I
see.
don't watch a lot of movies.
So it's good maybe that he missed the first 10 minutes because you would have just sitting there and been like, "What you guys talking about?" So, so Aditya weighed in on India, of course. We're trying to first analyze the India discussion. So I'm going to let Abai also speak. We thought first and foremost where you think India went wrong as well, because Aditya, we had a lot of conversations on this channel, and we disagreed on one particular point, and that was particularly with regards to the IPL and how it prepares you for international cricket. And we were talking about how some India players, particularly someone like KL Rahul, was so excellent in the IPL. He was just smashing people all around the ground. And at first, I thought that, you know what, because of the IPL, India will be the most or one of the best teams prepared, other than Pakistan, who are used to playing on those grounds. I thought India would be the most prepared for the pitches and understand how the pitches work, because they would have gotten insight directly from coaches as well as been playing there as well for quite a few games. So that aspect about, I want you to weigh in on this because I know you're also a fan of the IPL. Do you think that the IPL factor should have made them favorites in this particular tournament?
Well, objectively speaking, you'd think that the IPL would make Team India the favorites. My take on all of this is I feel the Indians fell way short of expectations, and if we look at the result, it's a fair result because the team that took down the top two sides in their group finished at the top. That's Pakistan, right? and next is the top that beat one of the top sides and won the rest of their games is second on the group. That's New Zealand, and the team that lost to both the top side, both the other top sides, and won their other two games is India, and they're third in the group. So on that note, the result is fair, but at the same time, I think when it comes to game plan, something seemed pretty off when it came to Team India. I mean, we usually see them play such clinical cricket across all formats. In fact, they're fresh off a T20 series home win against England. I know it was a few months back, but whenever you beat a top side like that, that's a big confidence booster. So I'm not actually sure. It may have been a tactical issue, but at the same time, I have a feeling things will be sorted in the near future. Um, I think Kohli's captaincy, something hasn't been right there. The change in captaincy may bring about better fortunes, I guess. My guess is it'll probably be Rohit Sharma who's going to take over, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they give it to KL Rahul either because he's proven himself well in the IPL. He's very consistent. Has a couple of big scores. Can score quickly. So I think there will be light at the end of the tunnel, even though that's a very overused phrase.
KL, the boss Rahul, you're talking about. That is the king. That I love that. I love that player. Paul, do you want to weigh in on India? Were you disappointed?
No, I wasn't. How could I
No,
be
no.
disappointed when India lose?
As a neutral, as a neutral.
Look, guys, I think we place too much emphasis on the IPL and what the IPL brings. What the IPL is a tournament that has more money. It's a T20 tournament that has more money than all the other tournaments in the world. The one thing that India thought maybe was coming into the tournament, that because they've been playing all this T20 cricket and you're selecting essentially an IPL 11 or IPL 15 because Chakravarti made it in, there were so many other guys who were in there who performed well in the UAE. But for me, they were surprised because there are teams in the world who've caught up to them. And if you watched Pakistan PSL 2.0, the quality of T20 cricket that was being played in that PSL was next level. And it wasn't even in PSL, it was the Pakistan Domestic League, where like the guys actually all stepped up. There were high scoring games, Rizwan, Baba, everybody. And I think that game kind of set them off on the wrong foot. Their batting had the yips. You kind of felt like they were all in their heads. And it was trying to and I hate using this excuse because I laughed at when Mark Barcher said it yesterday in the press conference when he was like, against Australia, we didn't know what a good score was. But for India, in their heads, they just didn't know how to build it. And it was one of those situations where you needed one, because T20 you need one guy to step up, but you kind of felt like India were just leaving it to the next guy and the next guy, and it just never gelled. Whereas when it came to the other two games they played, they just it was Rohit and Rahul who are like, you know what, we're taking the responsibility, and you kind of want that from your openers to be able to say, we're going to take the responsibility, we're going to set that foundation. And essentially that's where India's strength is. That middle order is a little bit iffy for India, outside of obviously Kohli batted 3, but that middle order has always been a little bit iffy. You had guys, I like Surya Kumar Yadav, wasn't sure of him at 4. You obviously had who's that all-rounder that you guys just spoke about, Hardik Pandya, all guys who are like, you know, reputationally they should do something, but from a form perspective, they were never there. The other thing with India was, why isn't Ashwin playing? Why did it take Ashwin 4 years, 45 days, and whatever it was to actually get a T20 game for India when he was clearly the best spinner in that T20 tournament? I get Chakravarti was great, but that was something that I worried about with India. But you kind of felt after the Pakistan game, it was okay. Look, these guys can can get it together. If they just button themselves up and be a little bit better, they can. But then New Zealand comes with a very strong bowling attack, and they dismantle them as well. But guys, remember India was complaining about bubble issues, but I can't I don't feel sorry for them because the BCCI has all the money in the world. They play all this cricket, and I understand maybe it's the players, maybe the players need to push back, but essentially India wants to play cricket all year round. That's not on me. That's not on any other team in the world. You need to figure out a way to kind of rest people. I don't feel sorry for them. They were in England. They ran away from a test match. They came to the IPL early so they could complete the IPL commitments. And then they've got another World Cup. And nobody in the midst of that was, we need to pick where you didn't need to play a full strength team in that test series if you're focusing on the World Cup, because why are we playing test matches 2-3 months before the World Cup? I get you. They played the World Test Championship, but for me, I kind of felt it was like, oh look, guys, if it's fatigue, it's all on them. They needed to plan better, and essentially that's why they're out of the World Cup. Because here's the other thing, right? The team that played the T20s against Sri Lanka, not a lot of the guys from that series was playing in this World Cup. And I think they probably would have actually done quite a lot better if you added a lot more other guys in there. So I think India has gone into the South Africa trap. 10 years ago, where South Africa was playing everybody in every single team going forward. Now it's like, if they say they're tired, then that's all on them. It's not on the ICC. It's largely on the BCCI. But guys, remember, they ran away from a test match at Old Trafford because they wanted to play the IPL. I don't feel sorry for them after that.
No, I disagree with the Old Trafford situation because that test match was never scheduled at that time. It was scheduled because the ECB wanted the 100 to go on smoothly, uninterrupted. So I think the BCCI never wanted that situation. And after COVID struck the Indian camp at that point, it was just too much of a risk because then you're jeopardizing the IPL and subsequently the World Cup. So I'm not so sure about that. I know India got the blame for quite a lot of that in the English media, but I'm not sure I agree with that because I think we all know what England did when they went to South Africa. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah. So I think I'd support what India did at that point.
England ran away too, Aditya. England ran away too. They created their own COVID scare by wanting to play golf, and they found a way to run away because they were afraid of South Africa, which is wild, but they were. Just joking, no. But I get you. Look, yeah, but from
just like India ran away to play the extra test in South Africa. Remember that? They didn't want to play 4. Remember, they didn't want to play 4. They only said 3. They rather add another ODI.
They ended up with 2, did they? In 2013, they ended up with 2 test matches. They were supposed to play 3. They ended up with 2. Yeah.
I'm talking about in the 2016. Was it 2016 when we played you guys? When I met you, Aditya.
17, 18.
17, 18. Yeah. So they were supposed to play 4. The original schedule, they wanted 4 tests against India and less ODIs, only 5 ODIs, or 4 ODIs or something like that. And then India said no, they'll play extra ODI and an extra T20 and play 1 less test match. So then they only played 3 against you guys, but we still beat you. Hopefully that happens. Hopefully it happens this time around again. Bye. You wanted to add something in?
Yeah, so I think squad selection also played a role. I think this is kind of common to both India and South Africa, because I did tweet last night that if you pick all of your best players, that'll improve your chances of winning a tournament, and if you don't, that's going to diminish your chances of winning a tournament. I just want to zero in on Chahal because I think he deserved the spot after the IPL. Let me just read out the stats. So 15 games, 18 wickets, average of 20, economy rate of 7. I mean, it may not be like absolutely amazing, but it's still very good. And definitely worth giving him a chance. I don't know why the Indian selectors decided to go for Chakravarti, because relatively speaking, Varun Chakravarti is unproven at international level. He's only played like a couple of games in T20 cricket, versus Chahal, who's got a lot more experience and knows how to take wickets. I mean, I know Chahal can get hit for lots of runs at times, but he does have that knack of picking up wickets. And similar to that, we can say the same thing about not picking Faf du Plessis in the Proteas squad.
This was what, yeah, I saw a picture. But funny enough, you guys are asking for a lot of guys in the live chat. I just want to give you guys an understanding. We've got, I think there's two groups currently for guys that are involved with the podcast, and I post the links in both groups. So if you see guys pop on, it's because they are available and they can. A lot of them have, some of them have load shedding, some of them have other prior engagements, so they maybe can't come. Like the times that you asked for Mpo had load shedding, so he couldn't come to the show. So a lot of the time the guys are busy, or the guy's working majority of the time. So that's why he can't. And Tipo is maybe has other arrangement. Dan actually posted in the group. He's watching the show, but he's not coming on the show. And I know you guys are calling for him, and I know you heard me probably call you, tell you guys to call him out and ask him to tweet him on Twitter to come on the show. But I'm glad that he's actually supporting us. So cheers, Dan. Even though I don't drink, click click. Yeah, let's go. Let's move on to, because I thought that India would be, that we would get a piece from Aditya after this World Cup. How to learn from India and what South Africa can learn from India. I thought that maybe would happen, because I like those type of pieces to what South Africa can learn from other teams. Teams good, it gets good traction on all of our stuff. So let's move on to South Africa, because I think South Africa's a team we have spoken about at length. We put up a piece today, guys, that we shared on Twitter and as well on Facebook, etc. Obviously, the former assistant from the Proteas, assistant or analyst from the Proteas, actually wrote the story with us, and it was a feature from Ungama. So Prasanna told us about what his thoughts were about the particular Proteas section, and he thinks it was a lack of planning. So I know, Mpo, I know you saw it. Your thoughts on the Proteas?
I loved it.
Do you?
Oh,
Your
sorry.
thoughts on?
Yeah,
continue.
I to a certain extent, I agree with P Dog. In terms of that, and it's one of the questions I've asked about the side, is there somebody there feeding them the information, and doing that, because you kind of need that in T20, especially with the rise of matchups and everything else. And Prasanna is dominating this domestic season with that pace quartet of the Lions. Like no spinner has bowled for the Lions in this 4-day series. They played they haven't played 8 days of cricket. They've played 6 days of cricket, or 5, because it's always been 2.5. And like P Dog has like literally transformed that Lions bowling attack. They're insane. But that's the value that he brings to the Lions, and it's a massive pickup for them. But to a certain extent, it is one of the worries I had, was who's feeding them the information, who's doing that. But to a certain extent, I do think that Mark, being an old school coach who grew up or played cricket without a video analyst, it kind of is counterintuitive to the type of coaching style that he is. Mark wants guys with clear minds, not wondering about little smaller adjustments that you need to make or filling them with numbers. It's about getting the job done. And like, I know a lot of the commentators like to say this, well, you can't worry about net run rate if you lose, or you always have to get the job done first and stuff like that. And to a certain extent, I agree. But in a world in 2021, we can walk and talk. And so it's one of those things where P Dog would have given them such valuable information. And the thing about it is the players loved P Dog every time. Even before the Boucher era, even in the Boucher era at the start, guys spoke highly of P Dog. Guys would go to him, get videos, get analysis, get little nuggets of things that they need to adjust. even in a T20 format, like his Twitter account throughout the tournament was filled with, this is where you guys need to be. This is what South Africa needs to do. This is what India needs to do. This is where this is what I see where the pitch is. And it kind of works. But the nature of this team, the nature of or the character of this team is fundamentally conservative, and that's one of the reasons why if you blame South Africa exiting the tournament because of Bangladesh, they're in this situation. On the other hand, I say poor planning, and it also shows in the way in which we arrived against Australia, because P-Dog tweeted out what Paul scored was for that first game of the tournament, right? Had he been there, we probably could have avoided Mark Boucher's thing of we didn't know what score to set, which is one of the most baffling things from a cricketing coach in 2021 to say we were confused as to what score we needed to set. And I'm sitting there going, did somebody not try to go for an average? Let's look at what the average was and then maybe go aim for that. And to a certain extent, that's the value of P-Dog. If I blame South Africa's exit on Australia, if P-Dog was there, it would have worked. P-Dog did leave the team. And under the Boucher tenure, he did the Test series against, and I think the T20 series against England, and after that, he left the side. So, and as he says
Boucher
in the
got his own
article,
guy in, didn't he?
Which one?
I think Boucher got his own guys in for that.
Yeah, well, but P-Dog says nobody's ever replaced him. So essentially, but he was spot on. I agreed with him. When it comes down to planning, I blame the management. Just like India, if the team was tired, blame because the management should have structured it better. Even if with what is this? Who's this? The Bangladesh game. You guys were talking about Kagiso saying that they were told to get it in 15 overs. Whoever that person was.
But I wanted to ask something just to clear something up. At that point, when that game happened, Australia hadn't played their next game yet, had they?
No, they had not.
No.
Yes,
so if South Africa chased it down in 15, they would have went second at the time.
No, but the situation
was maybe that's what he meant.
No, but essentially, here's the thing, right?
Doesn't make it right, but
no,
but that's maybe what he meant.
But this is the reason why I was so angry yesterday, Khalid, was that in the tournament, you have to think like in a tournament, right? You knew losing to Australia, it was going to go down to net run rate somehow. If, let's say, West Indies beat Australia and you beat the West Indies and Australia beat you. So there were two scenarios of net run rate, either at the 6-point level or at the 8-point level, right? These are the type of analysis that you need to be doing. So if you know that you've lost to Australia, you know that somehow, because the tournament rules tell you that it must be net run rate, you're going to have to try to figure it out. So in the Bangladesh game, when you bowl them out for 86, the answer
take advantage of it.
Let's try blow this thing out the water.
Yeah.
And the fact that they didn't is an indictment on whoever's giving them the information and also the team strategy. Because like even in any tournament, you want to blow it out the water. Mark was front and center in 2003 when we were fighting about run rates and everything else. So I would have thought he would have known better to try and chase targets a lot more. So for me, that's where I sit there going, guys, it wasn't about where we were playing. It was just about being able to think. And to a certain extent, they did try. It's just that I kind of felt like, guys, we ended up, we were 3 wickets down. We had 7 wickets in the hut when we finished that. And David Miller didn't even come out to bat. And that's the reason why, like, it speaks more to how this team saw this tournament.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they went in as underdogs and they were like, we're going to take whatever was given to us. But they forgot what type of cricket they were playing and how good cricket they were playing coming into the tournament, and how it was very advantageous because throughout the year in Ireland, in West Indies, and in Sri Lanka, they always complained about how low and slow the pitches were. So if the pitches were low and slow there, and you were scoring 150 and 140, surely now it would have been better. But it speaks to planning. You know, it's like when Bafana Bafana thought they had qualified for the African Cup of Nations, and they thought they qualified because they had a better goal difference. And somebody was like, but Oaks, you guys needed to read the rules because it goes through head to head. So that for me is a fireable offense. Because if you don't read
I
the
also
tournament
think
rule
they
and play towards it,
normally teams don't get bashed twice like that, almost in a row, like for such low totals. I don't think South Africa anticipated Australia to do that to both West Indies and Bangladesh, especially after South Africa did that to them. But it's not something if you get given an opportunity to take charge of a match and really beat up a team like that, you take advantage of it because you don't know what can happen. Rather prepare for the worst situation rather than prepare for or just go through the motions just because you can. Abba, you wanted to add something to that?
You know, a couple of things I find pretty disappointing. I've seen on social media fans blaming, oh, we didn't score quickly enough against Bangladesh to chase down the target. Well, let me put it this way, because if we were to compare trying to make up lost ground in terms of net run rate versus failure to win a match, I think we can all agree that one of these two clearly makes a bigger adverse impact when it comes to the team's campaign. If you lose a game, that's a lot worse than not making up enough lost ground when you win a match and you're trying to take care of net run rate. So that's one. And then another thing is, I'm not trying to use this as an excuse. But I wasn't happy at all with this tournament format, because if we think about it,
whoa. Okay, carry on, Navai, sorry.
No, because see, we have two groups of 6 teams, right? And out of those two groups, exactly 2 of them from each group make it through to the semis. And we noticed with South Africa, they've lost exactly 1 game, won all of the others, and still didn't make it. So, and those who made it to the semifinals, like the way to measure whether they were good enough to make the semifinals was how badly they could thrash the relatively weaker teams, right? So determining who makes the semis on who can thrash the relatively weaker teams by a bigger margin isn't something I'm really a big fan of. I mean, in fact, I'm more of an advocate of having quarterfinals and semifinals than a final. Then we could see more competitive cricket. And finally, a lot of these games were lopsided and toss dependent. And whenever we saw a competitive, well-fought game like South Africa versus Sri Lanka or Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka, for example, that wasn't exactly the norm. In fact, that was kind of the anomaly to the status quo. So I'm going to leave it at that.
But what format would you like to have? Because we've always had net run rate in cricket, and even if it was the quarterfinals, you'd be complaining that there's too few teams in the Super 12s to make it 8. Like, well, what's the format that you want? Because I disagree with I love the format. I was like, finally, they're moving forward.
Okay, we could have like 2 groups of 7 or 2 groups of 8 or something, and the top 4 from each group make the quarters, semis, and finals. And I'm just thinking out loud here.
Why do you want quarters? The great thing about this tournament was you needed to be on point. The fact that it was a semi-final means that if you lose 1 game, you could be out. And that's the sad part of life. There are teams who in the FIFA World Cup are unbeaten and go home. Or have won one
but
game
there's draws
and
involved
the
there,
other
though.
2 and go home. And so for me, the format's not an issue. You knew what the format was. You played to the format. The fact that
I understand what you're trying to say. I completely understand what you're trying to say, but at the same time, I know nothing's perfect in life, but at least this is my opinion. But a good World Cup format should have QFs. I mean, knockout cricket is pretty interesting when you're already when you're already trying to accommodate like the chaotic decider of that run rate, you might as well allow teams like to play each other, right?
No, but guys, think about the two groups, right? The two groups, right? When they were made, West Indies
No,
were
but
defend.
we knew that I don't think Abba is saying that the format should be like we knew that the format was the way it is, and they went through that. But what he's saying is maybe for the future, maybe he would prefer a
Keep
different
it like
format.
Yes, yes.
Guys, this World Cup was 4 weeks. It was 3 weeks.
But why not give an
Yes.
opportunity? Like, why do we have to? What I don't understand is why still they didn't have that knockout, whatever that prelims that they have, instead of just putting everybody into pools and letting them face each other. Something could happen. Maybe
No, guys,
something crazy could happen. Like Papua New Guinea could beat India on a day or something like that, and we maybe make it through and get a chance in a quarterfinal. Or you know, you can
No,
get
but guys, it's too
you can
long.
get like a Croatia making it all the way to the final in a World Cup. That you never get. That's a possibility. And that you're taking that possibility from the minnow teams, though. It's
You
not
do,
necessarily
but
always.
they've gotten their opportunity in
I
that
understand both of
qualifier.
your points. I understand both of your points, but I think it would be more entertaining to have quarterfinals
Guys,
and then semifinals in a
wait,
knockout
so you
tournament.
guys want groups with like 10 teams? No, guys, the problem with ICC cricket was that it was too long. The tournaments have always been too long. This format of the Super 12 was so great because in 3 weeks we're done.
But
That's what it
I
was.
think
And
this
that's
tournament
fun.
is too short.
This is too short.
Guys.
That's too short.
I
What you
think
talking
it's
about?
too short.
It's like
I think
I
we're
mean,
talking about like
Blake and it's
5
done.
games. We're talking about 5 games. I think that's
But guys,
yeah.
that's the beauty of it. You lose a game, you
We
lose
love it too.
control of everything. I'm sorry about India. I'm sorry about the Proteas. You feel hard about winning 4 games, but that's what tournament play is. You need to, and that's the thing for me is that teams need to understand how to handle tournaments and how you navigate tournaments. The fact, like I've said, if you lose a game, you give control of your tournament to somebody else because you ask a friend to bail you out. We were asking Bangladesh to bail us out, it didn't work out. We were asking West Indies to bail us out, it didn't work out. India asked Afghanistan to bail them out. Look at how that worked out. They were asking Scotland to bail them out. That's wild. And so that's the great thing about this World Cup is that, and on the other side, if let's say Namibia had created an upset, and that's why I thought it was perfect for South Africa because this format enabled a minnow or a underdog like South Africa, the way they were playing, to always be in their games, and that's the reason why we won 4 games. And we
I
gave
like the
ourselves a
original
chance to
World,
qualify.
but I like the original World Cup
Because
format,
if
like
you
the
went, so
2019
here's
World
the
Cup
thing.
format.
How do you think it would have worked out if we played India, Pakistan, and New Zealand? We probably wouldn't. We'd be wanting Bacha to be fired because I think we would have lost
Well,
all
there
those
we go. You
games.
play more teams. You play more teams. You could get a bigger chance of seeing who's the best team in the world.
We know
But
who's
I
the
also
best team in
think
the world. Who's
a
the 4
part of
best teams that are there now?
Yeah, we know, but I'm just adding fuel to the fire. Last thing from you,
a,
Aditya, before we say bye to everybody.
part of the conversation, if we talk about formats of tournaments, I think I think this format would be okay for England maybe, or even Australia. But I'm not sure this format works in the UAE because I think if for teams that lose tosses in night games, it is a significant disadvantage. And I think to have the fate of your campaign be determined by something that is not in your control, that's a bit unfortunate, And I think
But
a
that
lot of
happens
teams
in
have been,
every country, though. That's the
but
thing.
that doesn't determine your faith in England, for example. It's not as disproportionate as it is in the UAE or even India for that matter. Like I think if you go back to the last T20 World Cup in 2016, they had the same problem, which is why if you look at the game between South Africa and England, and then you look at the semi-final between India and the West Indies. We're talking about two teams playing on two entirely different surfaces with two entirely different playing conditions, and I don't think that makes for I mean, I think you're playing like 4 different matches. And I don't know if that's particularly fair.
Aditya, when you are at the Wanderers, when India wins the toss at the Wanderers, when they play their test match later on this year, what must Virat Kohli do?
Probably bowl first.
Exactly, because it's advantageous to the team bowling first. Cricket's always been that way.
But he has 5 days. South Africa has 5 days to make amends because conditions will change through
But
the
it's
course
the
of that
best.
test match.
But the toss allows the team to win to play with the best of the conditions. It's always been that way. Even when South Africa in the first game, was it Aaron Finch said he thought the best conditions were for him to bat second and not bat first in Abu Dhabi. It's what cricket has always been. So either maybe we take away the toss and do a home away thing, which is wild. But like guys, it's happened across every country in the world. And it's the playing conditions in the country. So
they must do it.
You have to work through it.
Look, I think that's not as much of a case in day games, at least in the UAE. It's not as much of a problem in day games as it is in night games, because you're talking about dew, and that's not something that you can control. And it is a disadvantage to the team that bats first. I think there's no taking away from that. I think that's it's a bit difficult. I think for you to have 5 opportunities, you lose one game because you've also lost the toss, and then suddenly you're staring down a barrel of defeat. I mean, I think there is a way to balance that. I don't think it. We're talking about countries, for example. Scotland is trying to make a name for itself on the international circuit. You lose a toss against a slightly better team, you bat first, you get hammered out. You're talking about the fate of an entire cricketing nation.
That's how they learn. It's easy for us to say.
No, but that's what the Scotland captain said. He was like, we need to go through games like this so we can be better. And yeah, guys, it's the play. Guys,
but I like but that's what I like about the World Cup, like the football World Cup. It's like there's still a possibility for a small team, to go through and win the World Cup and win the damn thing. Like there's still a possibility. It just makes it's a lot more difficult in cricket. I mean, this particular format at least. But I like the format as well. I'm not complaining about. I'm like in the middle between the two of you. Like it was an okay format. Yeah, whatever. And the best teams go through and hooray. But like on the other hand, I wouldn't have minded if there was a quarterfinal on the other hand as well, because it would have given us a chance to maybe see.
So we would have played New Zealand. How do you think we would have fared against New Zealand?
Maybe we could have beaten New Zealand. New Zealand's not looking amazing at the moment, like in this particular tournament. It's not like it blew my mind away.
I think New Zealand's looking great. At least
they're great, but at the same time, they're
beatable.
Yeah.
They're only looking great because they smashed India.
I mean, they're tactically. I feel like New Zealand has always punched above
I love
their
watching
weight.
And I would have loved to see South Africa also maybe play against one of the other teams on the other sides, like maybe one or more. Get it there. I would have liked to see it. That would have been great. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just me personally. I would have liked more cricket for this World Cup. It was very short for me personally. Yeah. But guys, this is wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the notification bell. We want to have more of these type of episodes. We'll probably continue this in a part 2 as well, maybe about formats going forward. And I'm going to make him more front and central. He's going to be the guy that's going to go against all of us, because he has a very strong argument against changing formats of this particular format. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the magazine. It's 100% free. And go to the link in the description as well in the top right of the screen. This World Cup edition, the next issue, you'll get the notification, an email notification every single time a new issue comes out. So please go ahead and subscribe to that. That's going to take us to the next level, guys, and really help us continue everything and keep the lights on over here and stuff out there in this world. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching. Smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your week. Hope it's easy on all of you.